What's up? My name is Kobe Socher. I want to show you today how I've netted millions of dollars flipping over 175 homes in the Midwest. And I've actually sold over 1,500 homes as a realtor. My goal is after you've watched this video, you understand how to flip a home the way that I do it. So here's your first step. I want you to go and find that house, okay? You got to find the deal, find the property. How are you going to do it? I have 3 ways that I personally do it. The way number 1 is I call realtors. I try to find a realtor who knows the business, knows the market, and knows what I'm looking for. Number 2 is I call wholesalers. How do I find wholesalers? I go on Facebook groups. I go onto investorlift.com. I go on to Google and I search for wholesalers. Once I find those wholesalers, I call them. I say, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Can you help me find it? The third way is I go direct to seller. I make phone calls, I knock on doors, and I do pay-per-click marketing. You might need to do all 3 of these items in order to find that house. Step number 2, we gotta go fund the deal. Most believe this is the hardest part, but let me tell you right now, if you actually have a deal, the funding will come. There's lots of different ways to do this, and here's all the different ways I've done it. Number 1, you can use your own cash. Number 2, you can take a conventional loan. Number 3, you can use hard money. Number 4, private money. By the way, private money is more like if you borrowed from your uncle or your brother or your cousin. When you're going to fund a deal, if it's not a deal, it'll be the longest game of hide and seek you've ever played. Step number 3 is negotiating the deal. How do we negotiate the deal? There's 2 factors. We've got price and terms. We need to make sure on the pricing side, make sure they're 25% below market value. Then we need a minus for repairs. Once we minus for repairs, that's how we know the negotiations on the deal price-wise is good. Then we have the terms. What title company is it? What is the closing date? What type of financing are you doing? Once you have that, now you can figure out how to get to the deal. A lot of sellers are actually more focused on the terms than the price. So how can you make the terms the best way possible? Can you clean out the house for them? Can you give them a little bit of extra time? Can you maybe pay for closing costs? What can you do to make the terms so good they agree to your price? On to the fun stuff, construction, which is number 4. If you do this correctly, this is where you make all of your money. I walk through the property, I take an entire video intake. Then I'm doing a scope of work. I'm writing down every single thing I might want to do on that home. Once I've done my scope of work, it's my job to do design and then hire a contractor. Before you hire the contractor though, I'd really suggest figuring out what your budget is for this property so that you make sure your profit is still there. So when you bring in contractors, make sure they're willing to do it for the amount you're willing to pay. Most likely, you're gonna need a couple extra people. A garage door company, a concrete company, maybe an HVAC company, maybe plumbing or electric. I don't know. Those are the people you should need on your list to get this done. One thing not to forget is you might need permits. Don't forget about your zoning code and talk to your city. Number 5, the wrap up. This is the fun part. This is where everything just comes together at the end in the most synergetic way. Make sure that you do your punch list, that the paint is on point, the landscaping is ready to go, at which point you get to stage the property. Staging is massively important. It allows the buyer to understand what the home's gonna feel like with furniture in it, even if they don't like it. Let's make sure during the wrap up, the home isn't only sexy and shiny, but the integrity of the home is there as well. Number 6, this is where we list and actually sell the property. Make sure that you have the best realtor out there. Make sure your marketing material is on point. The pictures look perfect. Sell that property for the best price possible and make the most amount of profit you possibly can. For me, that's typically somewhere between $70,000 and $90,000 per home. If you're like me growing up, you thought, how could I become the investor? How could I be the person flipping the home? I don't have enough money. I don't have the capability. I'm not told how. I'm hoping that by watching this video, you're gonna say, I can do it. I'm worthy of this. I got it. And then I hope you go make a lot of money. Check out my next video on bonus tips for all the different things that I do to make sure we make the most amount of profit possible.